There are moments in life when something inside you shifts so deeply, you just know you can never go back to who you were before. It doesn't come with fireworks or applause. No one else may even notice it's happening. On the outside, everything looks the same. The same house, the same job, the same familiar faces. But deep within you, there's a quiet, steady voice calling your name. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's more like a gentle whisper, like a soft breeze moving through the leaves at dawn. And even though you can't explain it to anyone, you feel it. You know something is changing. The universe doesn't bring you to this moment by accident. You're not here listening to these words by coincidence. Life has been guiding you, preparing you, placing signposts along your path. And now, you stand at a sacred threshold, a doorway between who you've been and who you're becoming. And here's the thing, most people don't realize this doorway doesn't open with force. It doesn't require you to push or fight or prove yourself. It opens with presence, with awareness, with the courage to simply be where you are, fully and honestly. Think of it like tuning into a different radio station. The music you used to listen to, the noise that once filled your mind, begins to fade. And slowly, a new frequency emerges clearer, lighter, more aligned with the truth of who you really are. You don't have to run toward this change or chase it down. In fact, the more you chase, the further away it feels. True transformation doesn't come from effort. It comes from resonance, from letting your inner vibration rise to meet the life that's already waiting for you. Maybe lately you've felt it, that subtle restlessness, like your old life doesn't quite fit anymore. You go through the motions, smile at the same people, sit in the same meetings, but inside, it's different now. That difference isn't a problem to fix. It's a sign you've outgrown an old version of yourself. The universe is gently showing you this season is ending, not because something went wrong, but because something greater is ready to begin. Imagine a tree in autumn, its leaves turning gold and falling silently to the ground. The tree doesn't panic when it lets go. It trusts the process. It knows that by releasing the old, it makes space for new growth to arrive in spring. You are the same. The people, routines, and beliefs that once felt safe may now feel heavy. And that's okay. It's not a sign of failure, it's proof of evolution. This moment you're standing in right now is not a punishment or a test. It's a passage, a quiet initiation into the next chapter of your life. So as you stand at this threshold, take a deep breath. You don't need to figure everything out. You don't need to know exactly what's coming next. You just need to allow yourself to be fully present, to hear that quiet inner voice saying, "It's time," because the change you've been waiting for isn't somewhere far away. It's already here. And the only thing left for you to do is to step forward and claim it. 1. Listen to the whisper within. The truth never arrives with a loud crash or a blinding flash of light. It doesn't demand your attention with chaos or drama. Instead, it comes quietly, like a soft ripple across still water. Like the faint sound of leaves rustling in the evening wind. It comes in the moments when you finally pause. When the noise of the outside world fades just enough for you to hear what has been there all along, the whisper within. This whisper doesn't shout, and it never forces its way in. It's subtle, almost delicate, yet it carries a power that can reshape the entire course of your life. It might show up as a strange restlessness you can't explain, or as a single thought that keeps coming back, no matter how hard you try to ignore it. Sometimes it appears in your dreams, repeating over and over, like a message you've been too busy to hear. Other times, it comes as a sudden moment of clarity while you're doing something ordinary, washing dishes, driving home, sitting alone in a quiet room. It's not there to frighten you. It's not even there to give you exact instructions. It's simply there to invite you, to remind you that you are more than the routines you've been living. more than the roles you've been playing, more than the weight of the past you've been carrying. You see, the whisper of the soul speaks in a language beyond words. It speaks in feelings, in subtle shifts, in that deep knowing you can't quite explain to anyone else. It's like when you walk into a room and immediately sense something is off, even though everything looks perfectly fine. Or when you meet someone new, and, without a single logical reason, you just know you can trust them, or that you can't. That's the same language your soul uses to guide you. The challenge is that we've been trained to ignore it. From a young age, the world teaches us to listen to the loud voices, the voices of logic, expectation, and fear. In comparison, we're told to be practical, to follow the rules, to keep our heads down, and stay in line. And while there's nothing wrong with structure, it often comes at a cost. We stop hearing our own inner guidance. We begin to doubt it, to dismiss it as imagination or foolishness. But here's the truth I've learned. Walking through my own darkness and back into the light, that whisper is never wrong. It may not always be easy to follow, and it rarely makes sense at first, but it is always leading you home. It is the compass of your higher self, the quiet hand reaching through the noise to guide you back to alignment. When you choose to listen to that whisper, something extraordinary happens. You begin to move differently, not with effort or force, but with a kind of natural flow, like a river that finally stops fighting to move upstream. Decisions feel clearer. The right opportunities seem to appear at just the right time. Even the challenges you face start to feel like stepping stones rather than barriers. Listening to the whisper doesn't mean you'll suddenly have all the answers. It doesn't mean you won't still face fear or uncertainty. But it does mean you'll have a deeper sense of trust, a knowing that even if you can't see the whole path, you're being guided one step at a time. The whisper is the doorway. Each time you honor it, even in the smallest way, you open that door a little wider. You create space for a new reality to unfold, one that matches the truth of who you are, not the habits of who you've been. So pause, breathe, notice the feelings that rise when you are still. And when that quiet voice inside you says, "This is no longer right for me," or "It's time to move in this direction," trust it, even if no one else understands, even if it terrifies you. Because that whisper is not just a thought, it is your soul, calling you forward into a life that fits, a life where you don't have to force or pretend or fight, a life where simply being you is enough. When you listen, really listen, you'll realize the whisper was never small at all. It was the sound of your true self, steady, patient, and ready, waiting for you to finally hear it. 2. Fear is not the enemy. It's the doorway. Fear has a way of showing up just when you're on the edge of something new. It arrives like an unexpected storm on what seemed like a calm morning. You were feeling steady, hopeful even, and then out of nowhere, your chest tightens, your thoughts begin to race, and that small, trembling voice inside whispers, "Maybe you're not ready. Maybe you should stay where it's safe." I've been in that place many times, standing right at the threshold of change, so close to stepping into a new chapter of my life. And every single time, fear was there waiting for me, like an old brating, familiar shadow. In the past, I thought that meant something was wrong, that fear was a warning telling me to turn back. But over the years, I've come to understand a truth that changed everything. Fear is not the enemy. Fear is the doorway. You see, fear appears loudest when you are about to grow beyond the life you've known. It rises up when you are about to stretch into a version of yourself you've never been before. Not because you are in danger, but because part of you is stepping into the unknown. And the mind, bless it, doesn't know how to handle the unknown. The mind would rather stay in a predictable prison than walk blindfolded into freedom. It will whisper, "Stay here. At least you know what to expect. At least you won't get hurt. But here's the thing, staying safe is not the same as being alive. Comfort can be a cage, and fear is often the key that lets you out if you're willing to turn it. Fear is like the guardian at the gate. It stands between who you are now and who you are becoming, testing your resolve, asking you a single question: do you trust what you cannot yet see? When you feel fear, it is not a stop sign. It's more like a signpost pointing toward the very thing your soul has been asking for. In fact, the closer you get to a breakthrough, the louder fear becomes. That trembling, the doubt, that sudden urge to run back to the familiar, it's all evidence that you are standing at the very edge of transformation. I know how convincing fear can be. It's clever. It dresses itself up as logic, as practicality, as caution. It says, wait a little longer. You're not ready yet. You need more proof, more preparation, more certainty. But that's not wisdom speaking. That's inertia. That's the echo of the old life trying to pull you back. So, what do? You don't fight fear. You don't try to crush it or make it disappear. Instead, you feel it fully and step forward anyway. Not with aggression, but with gentleness. Not with force, but with presence. Imagine a door in front of you, old and heavy. Fear is like the creaking sound it makes as you begin to push it open. That sound doesn't mean the door won't move. It simply means you're moving into a space you've never entered before. And once you cross that threshold, you realize the door was never there to block you. It was there to show you how much strength you already had. On the other side of fear lies the life you've been longing for, the freedom, the peace, the joy that you've been quietly craving. But to reach it, you must be willing to walk through the trembling, the uncertainty, the discomfort of letting go. Here's what I've learned. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the willingness to keep going, to breathe deeply, and take one more step, even when your legs are shaking. It's choosing to trust the deeper wisdom of your soul more than the panicked voice of your mind. When fear arises, pause and remind yourself, this feeling is not here to hurt me. It's here to guide me. Instead of saying, I'm afraid, so I must stop, try whispering, I'm afraid, which means I am close. Because fear is not a sign you're going the wrong way. It's proof that you are on the verge of a quantum leap, a profound shift in your reality. Every great transformation begins at this doorway. And while it may shake you, it will not break you. Step through with tenderness and trust, and you'll discover that fear was never your enemy at all. It was simply the threshold you had to cross to step fully into the life that has been waiting for you all along. 3. Living in the new frequency, without force. Real change doesn't begin with frantic action. It doesn't start with pushing yourself harder, setting stricter goals, or filling your calendar with endless tasks. True transformation starts in the quiet space within you, where no one else can see, the space where your thoughts, emotions, and energy meet. For so long, we've been taught that if we want a better life, we have to do more, work harder, move faster, hustle until we finally make it. But here's the secret. Lasting change doesn't come from what you force yourself to do. It comes from who you allow yourself to be. You don't need to chase the life you desire. You don't have to run after it like it's somewhere far away. Instead, you become the vibration of that life, right here, right now. When you shift your inner frequency, the outer world naturally begins to rearrange itself to match you. Think of it like a radio. If you're tuned to one station, you can't hear the music playing on another. No matter how hard you twist the volume knob, you'll only get static until you change the frequency. Life works the same way. Your external reality is always reflecting the station you're tuned to on the inside. When you align yourself with love, gratitude, and trust, you don't have to scream for the right opportunities or beg for the right people to appear. They come naturally, as if drawn to you by an invisible thread. This is why inner alignment is so powerful. When your inner world hums with peace, your actions carry a different energy. You speak differently. You move differently. Even the smallest gestures, the way you breathe, the way you make decisions, the way you show up for others, become infused with clarity and calm. And people feel that. They may not be able to explain it, but they sense it. Living in this new frequency doesn't mean your life will suddenly become perfect. Challenges will still arise. People around you may still misunderstand you, but the way you experience those challenges will change. Instead of reacting from fear or scarcity, you'll begin to respond from a place of grounded presence. You'll notice that what used to send you into panic now feels like a passing cloud, temporary, not permanent. You'll trust that even the difficult moments are part of a bigger picture you don't need to control. The beauty of this path is that it's not about striving or performing. It's about allowing yourself to soften into the truth of who you are, rather than constantly trying to become something else. You don't have to drag the future closer to you through sheer effort. You simply embody it now. When you do, life begins to flow with a quiet rhythm, like a river that no longer struggles against the current but glides effortlessly toward the ocean. It can feel strange at first. We've spent so many years believing that tension and struggle are proof we're making progress. So when things start to feel more spacious, more fluid, a part of you might worry. Am I doing enough? Am I still moving forward? But remember, this alignment often feels like stillness before it looks like action. It's like planting seeds underground. You don't see them sprouting right away. But beneath the surface, a whole new life is taking root. So take a breath, release the need to force outcomes. Instead of asking, how do I make this happen? Try asking, who do I need to become in order for this to happen naturally? The answer will always guide you back to your inner state, to your thoughts, your energy, your way of showing up. When you live from this place, there's no more desperate grasping for control. You begin to trust that the right opportunities, the right people, and the right timing will arrive without you having to exhaust yourself chasing them. Your only task is to maintain the frequency of the life you wish to live. And here's the beautiful truth. You don't have to wait for some future moment to feel free, loved, or fulfilled. You can choose those feelings now, even if your external world hasn't caught up yet. By doing so, you send a clear signal to the universe. This is who I am. This is what I am available for. And life responds. Always. You are not dragging the future toward you. You are becoming it. And as you do, the world around you, like a perfectly tuned instrument, will play in harmony with the song of your soul. 4. Letting go of old connections. Making space for what's coming. There comes a time in every journey of growth when you begin to notice that the world around you no longer feels quite the same. The friends you once spent hours talking with now feel distant. The job you used to wake up excited for begins to feel heavy. Even the dreams and goals that once lit up your heart may now seem dim, like faded photographs of another life. This can be a confusing and painful season. You may wonder if something is wrong with you, if you've made a mistake, if you've somehow lost your way. But what I've come to understand, after walking through my own seasons of endings, is that this is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of evolution. Your inner frequency has shifted. And when that happens, anything that no longer matches that frequency begins to naturally fall away. At first, it can feel like loss. It can feel like grief. And in many ways, it is because you're saying goodbye to a version of your life that once gave you comfort, love, and meaning. But here's the deeper truth. It's not just an ending. It's also a clearing. Like a forest shedding its leaves in autumn. This falling away is necessary for new growth to take root. Think of a tree in the middle of fall. Its leaves, once vibrant and full of life, begin to wither and drop to the ground. The tree doesn't fight this process. It doesn't cling to what must go. It trusts the cycle. knowing that by releasing the old, it creates space for new buds to bloom in spring. Your life is no different. Relationships, jobs, habits, and even identities, they all have seasons. And just because a season has ended doesn't mean it was meaningless. It simply means its purpose has been fulfilled. Still, letting go is rarely easy. We hold on because the familiar feels safe. Even when it no longer feels right, we cling to old relationships because we fear being alone. We stay in jobs that drain us because the uncertainty of change feels too overwhelming. But holding on tightly only keeps us stuck between worlds, unable to fully embrace the new, yet unable to return to the comfort of the old. I've learned that real healing begins the moment you allow yourself to feel the grief of what's leaving without trying to control it. You don't have to pretend it doesn't hurt. You don't have to rush the process or force yourself to move on. You simply breathe and acknowledge, this chapter is closing, and it's okay for me to feel both sadness and gratitude. And here's the gift hidden in the pain. Every ending is a silent promise of a new beginning. Life never takes something away without offering something in return. But often, there has to be a space, a clearing before the new can arrive. If your hands are already full, how can you receive what's meant for you? If your heart is crowded with what no longer belongs, how can it make room for what's coming? When you begin to trust this process, something beautiful happens. You start to see endings not as punishments, but as sacred invitations. You begin to understand that the people who leave your life are not wrong or bad. They simply no longer resonate with the song your soul is now singing. And by releasing them with love, you free both of you to find what truly matches your current vibration. This doesn't mean you'll never miss them. It doesn't mean you won't sometimes ache for the past, but it does mean that you'll no longer confuse letting go with losing. Because letting go is not about abandonment. It's about alignment. As you step forward into this new frequency, trust that what's meant for you will rise to meet you. The relationships that are meant to grow with you will grow. The opportunities that align with your higher self will stay. And everything else will gently fade away, like leaves drifting on a stream, making way for the vibrant green of new life to emerge. So, when you find yourself standing in the middle of endings, take a deep breath and remember, you are not empty. You are being cleared. You are not being abandoned. You are being prepared. And one day, when you look back, you'll see that every goodbye was really a gateway leading you exactly where you were always meant to go. 5. Every challenge in your past was preparation. There is a quiet truth that takes time to see clearly. Nothing in your life has been wasted. Not the heartbreak, not the disappointments, not even the moments you thought had broken you beyond repair. Every experience, no matter how painful, has been part of a greater unfolding, shaping you, refining you, preparing you for the person you are becoming. When you're in the middle of hardship, it rarely feels this way. It feels unfair. It feels like punishment, like the universe has turned its back on you, leaving you to face the storm alone. I know that feeling well. There were nights when I lay awake staring into the darkness, whispering, "Why me? Why now? What did I do to deserve this?" And the silence that followed felt endless. But here's what I've learned over time. The silence was never absence. It was space. Space for me to grow. Space for me to discover a strength I didn't know I had. Looking back now, I can see that the very moments I thought were destroying me were, in truth, building me. They were laying the foundation for a future I couldn't yet imagine. The universe does not punish. It does not sit in judgment, handing out rewards and punishments like a strict teacher. Instead, it arranges circumstances with astonishing precision. Every event, every person, every challenge appears not to harm you, but to teach you, to help you grow into the highest version of yourself. Imagine a seed planted deep in the earth. For weeks, maybe months, it sits in darkness. It is pressed by soil, drenched by rain, and buffeted by wind. If the seed could think like we do, it might believe it has been buried alive, forgotten, left to suffer in the cold and the dark. But in truth, something miraculous is happening beneath the surface. That very pressure is what allows the seed to crack open, to send roots downward, and a fragile sprout upward toward the light. What feels like destruction is actually the birth of new life. Your life has been the same. Those seasons when you felt crushed under the weight of circumstances were never about your failure. They were about your preparation. Every loss, every tear, every seemingly dead-end path was clearing the way for something bigger, something more aligned with who you truly are. Think of the times you were told no. At the time, it may have felt like rejection, like a door slammed in your face. But now, perhaps you can see that those very no's protected you from paths that weren't meant for you. They pushed you toward a destiny you couldn't yet see. Even your mistakes hold hidden gifts. The choices you regret, the roads you wish you'd never taken, these, too, have value. They taught you discernment. They showed you what you truly want by first revealing what you don't. They gave you wisdom you could never have gained from a life of ease and perfection. When you look back through the lens of gratitude, your past begins to look different. The pieces start to fit together like a mosaic. What once seemed like random chaos reveals itself as a carefully designed pattern. The wounds that once defined you become doorways into deeper strength and compassion. Gratitude doesn't erase the pain, but it transforms it. It turns the jagged edges of your story into stepping stones. It allows you to say, "That hurt me. Yes, but it also shaped me. It carved out space in me for love, for understanding, for courage." So, when you reflect on your past, resist the urge to see it as a graveyard of failures and losses. See it instead as a training ground. Every experience has been preparing you to receive what is coming next. Every difficulty has been sculpting you into the person capable of living the life you've always dreamed of. And here is the beautiful irony. The moments that once felt like the end were actually beginnings in disguise. They weren't proof that life was against you. They were proof that life believed in you enough to make you ready. Trust that every chapter, no matter how dark, has served a purpose. Because when you step into the fullness of who you are now, you'll realize something profound. You were never being punished. You were being prepared for the life that was always waiting for you. 6. The stillness, where magic truly begins. In today's fast-paced world, stillness is often misunderstood. We are surrounded by noise, constant notifications, endless to-do lists, and the relentless pressure to keep moving, keep producing, keep proving ourselves. So when life slows down, even for a moment, it can feel uncomfortable. We mistake the pause for failure. We tell ourselves, "I'm falling behind. I should be doing more." But the truth I've come to know, through my own dark and quiet seasons, is this: stillness is not emptiness. It is not stagnation. Stillness is the sacred ground where new possibilities are quietly taking root. Think of a farmer who has just planted seeds in the earth. On the surface, nothing seems to be happening. The field looks bare, silent, almost lifeless. But beneath the soil, an invisible miracle is unfolding. The seed is breaking open. The roots are reaching deep into the darkness, drawing in nourishment, preparing for a burst of life that will one day be visible to all. If you judged only by what you could see, you might think nothing was happening at all. But that silence is not a void, it's a womb. Your life has these seasons, too. There will be times when the world seems to go quiet, when opportunities slow down, when progress feels invisible. These moments are not punishment, they are preparation. They are the universe gently saying, "Pause here. Something important is forming." For many years, I resisted the quiet. Whenever life felt still, I panicked. I filled the silence with noise, with work, with distractions, with anything to keep me from facing myself. But no matter how much I did, The emptiness inside never truly went away. It wasn't until I learned to stop running and simply sit with the stillness that everything began to change. It was uncomfortable at first, even terrifying, without the busyness to hide behind. I had to face my own fears, my old wounds, and the parts of me I had avoided for so long. But slowly, in that sacred silence, I began to hear something deeper, the soft whisper of my soul, guiding me toward alignment. What I once thought was emptiness was actually space. Space for healing. Space for clarity. Space for the next version of me to take shape. In our culture, we're taught to value action above all else. We measure our worth by how much we produce, how quickly we achieve, how busy we stay. But the greatest transformations don't happen in the noise. They happen in the pause between breaths, in the quiet moments when you allow yourself to simply be. Consider the ocean for a moment. On the surface, waves crash loudly and constantly, reflecting the chaos of the world around us. But deep beneath the surface, the water is calm, steady, undisturbed. That depth is always there, even when the storms above rage wildly. You, too, have that depth within you. Stillness is how you return to it. It is how you anchor yourself in the truth of who you are, no matter what's happening outside. When you give yourself permission to be still, you create a powerful opening. It is in that space, that silence, where the new frequency begins to take root. It may feel subtle at first, like the faint stirring of spring beneath a frozen winter ground. But over time, as you nurture that inner stillness, you'll notice that life begins to align in ways you couldn't have forced with action alone. The irony is that what the world calls doing nothing is often the most important work you'll ever do. It's in the quiet that you meet yourself again. It's in the pause that inspiration arrives, like a soft breeze through an open window. And it's in the stillness that the universe whispers its plans for you, not with urgency, but with a gentle knowing. So, if you find yourself in a season of stillness right now, resist the urge to fill it. Don't rush to cover it with noise or movement. Instead, breathe deeply and allow it to be. Trust that what looks like emptiness is actually a space brimming with potential, like the darkness before dawn. It is a sign that something beautiful is about to be born. Remember, the stillness is not a sign that you're stuck. It's the quiet hum of the universe rearranging itself on your behalf. It's the invisible preparation for the visible miracle to come. And when that miracle arrives, you will look back on this season with profound gratitude, knowing that it was in the silence where the magic truly began. 7. When the familiar no longer feels like home. There will come a day, quiet and ordinary on the surface, when you wake up and realize that something has shifted. The world around you looks exactly the same streets you've walked 1,000 times, the same people you've shared countless conversations with, the same daily routines that once gave you comfort and stability. But somehow, none of it feels the same anymore. The places you used to find joy in now feel strangely hollow. The conversations that once flowed easily seem forced or empty. Even the goals you've been chasing for years may suddenly seem distant, like they belong to someone you no longer are. It's as if you've been living inside a familiar house, and one morning, you wake up to find that all the furniture has been quietly rearranged. Everything is still there, yet somehow out of place. This can be a deeply unsettling experience. At first, you may think something is wrong. You might ask yourself, am I losing my way? Am I broken? Why does nothing feel right anymore? But I want you to hear this. This isn't a sign of losing yourself. It's a sign of finding yourself. You haven't lost direction. You've simply outgrown the old map. You are no longer the person who fit perfectly into those roles. Those conversations, those routines, your inner frequency has shifted, and what once resonated with you no longer matches who you are becoming. It's like wearing a pair of shoes that once fit perfectly, but now pinch at every step. There's nothing wrong with the shoes. They just aren't meant for the person you are now. Growth is like that, subtle, quiet, and often misunderstood. When you reach this point, it's natural to feel fear or sadness. The people around you may notice the changes and feel confused or even hurt. They might say, "You've changed," as if it's a bad thing. And a part of you may long to go back, to shrink yourself down, so you can fit into the spaces that once felt safe. But please, don't mistake nostalgia for truth. You haven't done anything wrong. You've simply crossed an invisible threshold, one that many people never dare to cross. You are awakening. And awakening doesn't always look like bliss or clarity. Often, it feels like disorientation. Like you're standing between two worlds, the one you've known and the one that's quietly waiting for you. Think of a caterpillar inside its cocoon. From the outside, it looks still, maybe even lifeless. But inside, a profound transformation is taking place. The caterpillar is dissolving, breaking down completely before it can emerge as a butterfly. In that in-between stage, it has no clear form, no certainty about what comes next. It simply surrenders to the process. Your journey is much the same. This feeling of unfamiliarity isn't a mistake. It's evidence that you are in the midst of becoming. The challenge is to stay present through this discomfort without rushing to fix it. Most of us are taught to cling to what's familiar, even when it no longer serves us. We try to force old relationships to feel the way they used to. We push ourselves to care about goals that no longer light us up. We hold on tightly to identities that no longer fit. But just as the tide must recede to make way for a new wave, you must let some things flow out of your life so the new can flow in. Here's what I've learned. The more you resist this process, the more painful it feels. But when you soften into it, when you breathe deeply and say, "Okay, I'm willing to see where this takes me," you begin to feel a quiet peace beneath the discomfort. You start to notice small signs of alignment, a new idea, a fresh connection, a sense of lightness in places that once felt heavy. This season of unfamiliarity is not a punishment, it's a passage. It's the bridge between who you were and who you are becoming. And while it may feel lonely at times, you are never truly alone. Life itself is walking beside you, gently guiding you toward what is next. One day, you will look back and see this moment for what it really is, proof of your awakening. You'll realize that when the familiar stopped feeling like home, it was because you were finally ready to build a new one, not outside of you, but within you, and that inner home will be unshakable, no matter how the world around you shifts and changes. So when everything begins to feel strange, don't rush to run back or numb the discomfort. Instead, take it as a sacred sign you are evolving. You are being prepared for a life that is bigger, truer, and more aligned than anything you've ever known before. And even though the path ahead may be uncertain, your own soul knows exactly where it's leading you. 8. A quantum leap needs no reason. There is a fascinating concept in quantum physics called quantum tunneling. Scientists have observed particles doing something that, on paper, should be impossible, moving through barriers they seemingly have no way to cross. The rules of the physical world say, this shouldn't happen. And yet, somehow, it does. Life has a way of working in much the same mysterious fashion. There are moments when you, too, are standing before a wall that feels unbreakable. It might be a fear that's held you back for years, a circumstance that seems too big to overcome, or a story you've told yourself so many times it feels like truth. Your mind looks at that wall and says, there's no way through. It's too high, too strong. I don't have what it takes. But here's the miracle. Your soul doesn't see the wall at all. Your soul only sees possibility. And when the soul is ready, something extraordinary happens. Just like those quantum particles, you can pass through barriers that once seemed immovable. The leap doesn't make sense to the mind. But it doesn't need to. For so much of our lives, we've been taught to wait until we have it all figured out. We wait for the perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect feeling of readiness. We tell ourselves, once I understand everything, once I'm no longer afraid, then I'll take the step. But life doesn't work like that. The step comes first. The clarity comes later. When you feel a deep resonance, a quiet, undeniable pull towards something, you don't need to explain it or justify it to anyone, not even yourself. That resonance is enough. It's your soul's way of saying, this is the direction. Trust me, even if your mind trembles with fear, even if logic screams that it's not possible, you can still move. Because the truth is, you don't need a reason to follow what deeply aligns with you. You only need the willingness to take one small, brave step into the unknown. I remember times in my own life when I stood at this edge. There were no guarantees, no proof that things would work out. From the outside, it might have looked reckless walking away from jobs, relationships, or identities that no longer felt true to me. But every leap was guided by an inner knowing that defied explanation. And looking back now, I see how the universe rose to meet me each time. Doors I couldn't have imagined opened. Opportunities appeared exactly when I needed them. Support showed up in ways I never could have planned. It wasn't because I had all the answers. It was because I finally stopped waiting for certainty and chose to trust the feeling instead. You see, a quantum leap isn't about effort or force. It's about alignment. When your soul is ready, reality begins to rearrange itself to support you. The people, resources, and timing all line up in ways your mind could never orchestrate. But that alignment is only revealed once you've taken the first step. Imagine standing at the edge of a dark hallway. You can't see the end, only the space right in front of you. Your mind insists, it's too risky. What if you stumble? What if there's nothing there? But the moment you take that single step forward, the next piece of the path lights up beneath your feet. Then the next, and the next, until one day you look back and realize you've crossed what once felt impossible, not by leaping the entire distance at once, but by trusting each moment as it unfolded. This is the essence of a quantum leap. It doesn't require a perfect explanation. It doesn't demand you be fearless. It only asks for your willingness to move when something inside you whispers, "This is right." And here's the most beautiful part: when you dare to follow that whisper, life responds. The so-called barriers dissolve. The walls you thought were solid reveal themselves to be illusions built from fear and doubt. You realize they were never truly holding you back. It was only your belief in them that did that. So if you find yourself standing before a challenge today, don't wait for a reason to act. Don't demand certainty before you take the step. Feel for that quiet sense of alignment deep within you and let it guide you. Trust that when your soul is ready, reality itself will shift to meet you. And when you finally look back, you'll see that what once seemed impossible wasn't a wall at all. It was simply a doorway waiting for you to walk through. 9. Change happens in silence. So often, we expect transformation to announce itself with a bang. We think there will be a dramatic moment, a sign so clear that it leaves no room for doubt. We imagine fireworks in the sky, a voice calling our name, or a sudden wave of certainty crashing over us. But real change, it rarely looks like that. In fact, the most profound shifts in life usually arrive so quietly that, at first, you might not even notice they've happened. One day, you wake up and go about your morning as usual. The sun rises the same way it always does. You brush your teeth, make your coffee, glance at your phone. Everything appears ordinary. And yet, something inside you feels different, lighter, clearer, like a weight you didn't even know you were carrying has been gently lifted. It's in these unremarkable moments that true transformation reveals itself, not with thunderclaps or dramatic revelations, but with a soft whisper of realization, I'm not the same person I was yesterday. I've experienced this many times in my own life. There were no obvious signals to mark the shift, no grand ceremonies to announce the change. Just a simple, quiet awareness that I had crossed an invisible threshold. It might have been while standing at the kitchen sink, washing dishes, when suddenly a thought landed with such clarity that it brought tears to my eyes. Or walking outside and noticing that the world seemed sharper, brighter, not because the world had changed, but because I had. The truth is, change is often so subtle that others won't see it right away. Your friends may still treat you like the old version of yourself. Your daily life may still look the same on the surface, and that can be frustrating at first. You might even doubt yourself, thinking, if no one else can see it, did anything really change? But here's what I've learned. Silence is not emptiness, it's depth. The quietness of change is a sign of its authenticity. When something truly shifts within you, it doesn't need to shout for attention. It simply begins to radiate outward, like the first rays of dawn touching the earth. At first, the sky is still dark, but slowly, almost imperceptibly, light begins to fill the horizon, and before you realize it, an entirely new day has begun. In the same way, inner transformation moves gently. It starts deep within, in places no one else can see. A single thought, a moment of forgiveness, a breath of surrender. These are the tiny sparks that ignite lasting change. And while they may seem small, they carry a quiet power that reshapes your entire life over time. The challenge is learning to trust these subtle moments. Our culture celebrates loud, visible accomplishments. We're taught to believe that if something doesn't happen publicly with evidence and applause, it doesn't count. But the soul doesn't work that way. The most important shifts are often invisible at first, like seeds growing beneath the soil. No one claps for the roots as they stretch deep into the earth. Yet without them, no tree could ever rise. Think of it this way: when a caterpillar becomes a butterfly, the transformation happens in complete stillness, hidden away inside the cocoon. There are no witnesses to cheer it on. No one sees the messy, beautiful process of becoming. But when the time is right, the butterfly emerges graceful, whole, and utterly new. Your own growth works the same way. So if you find yourself in a season of quiet change, don't dismiss it. Don't go searching for proof or validation. Instead, slow down enough to notice the subtle shifts, the way your breath feels deeper, the way certain conversations no longer drain you, the way you pause before reacting to something that would have upset you before. These are signs that your inner world is aligning with something greater. And one day, without warning, you'll stop in the middle of an ordinary moment and realize everything has changed. Not because the world around you has suddenly become different, but because you have. Because the way you see, feel, and respond has been quietly rewritten. This is the beauty of silent change. It doesn't demand attention. It simply invites you to step into a new reality softly, gently, and fully prepared for what comes next. And when you finally notice it, you'll understand something profound, that the most powerful transformations are not loud at all. They happen in stillness, in breath, in the quiet unfolding of your soul, the blooming that is already here. The change you've been waiting for is not somewhere far ahead on the horizon. It isn't a distant dream or a goal you have to chase with all your strength. The truth is far simpler and far more profound. It has already begun, right here, in this very moment. The shift you've longed for is quietly unfolding. You may not see it yet, but you can feel it if you pause and listen. It's in the subtle way your breath deepens, in the calm that settles into your chest when you stop trying to control everything. It's in the whisper of your own soul reminding you that you don't need to run from your past or force the future into being. You don't need to erase who you were to become who you are meant to be. You don't need to grasp or push or rush. All you need is to be here, fully present, fully alive, and to allow yourself to live in harmony with the new frequency that is already taking root inside you. I know it can be tempting to think that transformation must be dramatic, like tearing down a house to build something entirely new. But real change is softer than that. It's more like the quiet arrival of spring after a long winter. At first, you may not notice anything at all. The trees are still bare, the ground still cold. And then, one day, you see the tiniest bud pushing through the soil, and you realize that life has been stirring beneath the surface all along. Your life is like that. Even if the outer landscape looks unchanged, something deep within you is already blooming. Every choice you make to listen to your inner voice instead of fear, every breath you take with presence instead of panic, is a seed planted in the garden of your becoming, and those seeds will grow in their own perfect timing. Remember, this fear is not your enemy. It is simply the final doorway you must walk through before a profound leap forward. When fear arises, it does not mean you're on the wrong path. It means you are standing at the very edge of transformation. Feel it, acknowledge it, and keep moving forward with tenderness. Remember, too, that stillness is not stagnation. The quiet spaces in your life are not empty. They are fertile soil where the new is preparing to take root. It is in the silence, in the pauses between one chapter and the next, that the deepest magic is woven. When you allow yourself to rest in that space, you give life permission to create something beautiful through you. And finally, know that every single experience you've had was preparation. The heartbreaks, the challenges, the moments you thought were breaking you, they were all shaping you, strengthening you, clearing the way for what is now arriving. Nothing has been wasted. Every step, even the ones that felt like detours, has been part of a perfect design, guiding you home to yourself. So from this moment forward, stop asking, when will my life change? Look around. Listen within. Notice the subtle ways it already has. The shift isn't waiting for you in some far-off future. It's here now, alive in every breath you take. The only thing left for you to do is to walk forward with trust, step by step, breath by breath, moment by moment. No rushing, no forcing, just allowing yourself to meet life exactly as it is, and to meet yourself exactly as you are. Because right now, beneath the surface, your life is quietly blooming. It may not shout its arrival with noise or drama, but if you listen closely, you'll hear it a soft hum, a steady rhythm, like the heartbeat of the earth itself. Your new life is already here, blossoming in silence, waiting for you to notice. So breathe deeply, take that first step with faith, and trust that, even if you cannot yet see the flowers, the garden of your life is growing tenderly, beautifully, and in perfect time,